FY23. We have kept this assessed valuation for the FY24 as it is a reassessment year. As we get actual information, we will update the board with a budget revision. And I also wanted to touch on our accounting system code structure tonight. The reason we have the existing accounting code structure is to accurately track each dollar we spend and receive for the district. Our district budget and accounting system is designed to be compliant with this format outlined in the Missouri Financial Accounting Manual. This format allows for consistency and common language to be used in reporting all activities within the school district across the state. It also allows for common uniform recording systems to report the financial data in the annual Secretary of the Board report, which is the ASBR. The accounts code structure is broken down into fund, function, object, building, project, and source. There is a question with each segment that allows for guidance on selecting the appropriate accounting code. For fund, which accounting entity is paying for this expenditure? DESE has 4 funds outlined: general incidental, teacher, debt service, and capital projects. Function code describes the action or purpose for which the activity is performed. There are building instruction codes, student activities, counseling, etc. that are used frequently. Object codes dive into the details of the purchase. What is the service or the commodity being used for? An example of an object code is supplies and materials. Within supplies and materials, there are several subcategories: instructional supplies, general supplies, and technology supplies. Location is based on the location on the building or the department. DESE requires certain function codes to have a location specific, so our goal is to be as specific as possible on all purchases. Project codes are just that. Which project is this being purchased or service being used for? There are project codes that DESE assigns for specific projects and tracking purposes, and then the district can also define project codes that assist in the financial tracking and reporting. The final piece in the code structure is the source of funds code. This is directly related to the revenue that is paying for that expenditure. I have 2 examples of our accounting codes. The first one is the high school paper and copier. As you can see, each set of number corresponds to the DESE code structure. The fund is the first 3 numbers, Fund 1, which is general. The next set of numbers is the function code, which describes the action is being used for. In this case, it's being used for the high school. The object code follows next. 6411 is general supplies code and supports the account name as long as it is truly used for supplies for the copiers. Location code is high school. This is where the copier is located at and being used. The project code allows us to be specific. 00591 is specific for paper and copier. Any accounting code that relates to paper and copiers would use this project code. The final number is the account code, and the account code is the source code, which shows us that this account code is funded by the local revenue. The second one is one of our new ones for tracking expenditures related to our Series 2022 bond. This account code is specific for the Series 2022 building improvements at McQuarrie. The structure is still the same, but the codes are different and specific to this type of work. Since this is a capital project, the fund is now 004. Using the specific coding structure outlined by DESE allows us to track all transactions accurately and build historical data. One of my main projects that I have worked on over the last year is cleaning up our accounting codes so that we have accurate allocations and correct reporting for the district. This project is an ongoing as we continue to streamline our account codes, and as we create account codes and reallocate budget funds, we will be presenting the board with any budget revisions. The line item detail in the district's revenue and expenditures is included at the end of your budget narrative for your review, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Anybody have any questions for Kat at this point? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, our first order of business is a motion. I need a motion for approval of the agenda, please.
So moved.
Second. I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Thank you. At this, I also need a motion for approval of consent agenda items.
So moved.
All in favor? Thank you. communications call, do we
We
have
don't
that?
have any communications this month.
Okay, at this time, we have a request for public comment, so, Tim, you're up. Come on. Come on down.
Good evening.
You want a chair, move your chair up here?
Yeah, I could do that.
I'm sorry.
Understand.
Yeah, where'd that little bitty one go?
I was happy that wasn't sitting here because I was gonna blame it on Kenneth. I deserved it though. So, I just come this evening to, get you guys some information on the proposed gun range. Maybe hopefully get you up to date. If, you guys have any questions or anything, just stop me and let me know. I assume you guys had a chance to go through the Dr. Prado report, which I would like to take a minute to thank her for that. Absolute wonderful report. This is a map of opposition that we had put together once we found out about it. Once we obtained the information that was being proposed, we got that information to the neighboring community, let them make their own determinations. And then this took place in about 4 days, so this map continues to grow. It has crawled up on the rest of Golden Belt Road. It has moved onto 9th Street. Sorry. And over into Hunter's Ridge, Clayton Park. The main thing to gather from that would be, it was a map that was created off of people reviewing the information. It wasn't something that we just showed up at a door with a piece of notebook paper and said, hey, will you sign this? We supplied the information, they made their own determination, and then they actually went and got a notarized petition with their signature on it, which to me is huge. I think you guys had the planning and zoning thing in your packet. So on the first page, or actually page 2, if you see on there where the proposed gun range, it's placed, there's a star there representing that, which as you can see for the, it's designated as rural residential, so it's kind of a fish out of water just based on a future use map. On the next page, page 3, you can see the design of what has been supplied as the design. If you go north, or if you go off the top of the page of that photo, about 975 meters is Golden Belt Road. So if you, I don't know if you guys blow this picture up to actually read the text on here. So the handguns, looks like they go and shoot north, and the rifles shoot south into the burn. So, yeah, I think most of the issued handguns that are used have the capability of 14 to 1700 meters. Go ahead.
I mean, I'm looking at the picture now, is that,
Mhm.
to me, it looks like they're shooting north, even at the
Yes.
pistol range, is that true?
Pistol range would be north, yes.
North, okay,
Yes.
okay.
And so then if you go north off the top of that photo, there, about 975 meters is Golden Belt Road. Golden Belt Road is a lot of the practice for track, and I think even cross country takes place on Golden Belt Road. I see kids during the spring run by my house, and this is west of my house. So you can also notice here, and there is no, in this particular photo, there's no proposed SDZ zone, which there's no information that we can find anywhere. referring to the SDZ zone. That's probably as new to you guys as it is to me, but that describes surface danger zone. So that is supposed to account for ricochets, misfires, and typically that means from the firing location to the shooting issue. There's nothing in any of this information about an SDZ zone. So typically it is calculated for the biggest weapon that would be used in the range. And it is supposed to be calculated to a point that it will cover the biggest weapon that's going to be used in the range. And if you shoot straight up, that bullet's supposed to fall back down within that range. Not that a bullet will fall straight back down, but it's supposed to capture that in that scenario. This is just boxes. If you research on that and you get on the Department of Energy, basically their number one criteria is the backstop, which is what's catching the bullets. Number 2 is the SDZ zone, and it doesn't exist on here.
Have you talked to anybody, I'm sorry to interrupt you, have you talked to anybody about that? Or
I did last night.
was there any
I
information they're shooting?
got the same look. They had no clue. On page 4, it references the school being 2,600 foot away. One of the things we'd like to point out on that is that as the firing range is a fixed point, they'll always be shooting the same direction. They'll always be in the same location. Nothing that happens at school is in the same location. The properties themselves can be as close to, I think, about 1,700 feet. If you go from property line to property line, from the school property to the gun range, I think it goes down to about 1,700 feet. So if you're on the west, it'd be the west piece of the school property, you get below that 2,600 feet pretty quick. And then it's at that point, you know, if you have kids out there to the west of the school for an art project, or you have a cross-country function going on, or whatever, you're closer than the 2,600 feet. Guys got questions?
So you mentioned blue is that area residents or property owners? Is that what
It
you're?
is both.
Both.
Yeah,
Okay.
and keep in mind, that's a 4-day map. That's the current map
Yeah.
that has now grown.
And those are property owners that had,
They have
Signed.
signed a notarized petition. Yes. So as you go through this, I'm sure you guys have read through it. If you look through some of this can involve 4 to 6 officers at a time. We did some sound tests. The city did some sound tests. They were similar at the school, Upper Elementary. But they were, I can speak for ours, it was a single gun going bang, bang, bang. It wasn't 6, it wasn't 12, which we all know that would be completely. Hours of operation is basically during school. It says that the proposed does not appear to produce significant nuisance impacts based on the location and surrounding areas. That's it, something they've been missed there. So then on the last page, basically, for this to be approved, the city agrees to supply you guys, the district, with a shooting schedule, training schedule for the year. I don't know if you guys read that. That kind of speaks to, hey, you can hear it at school. It has an effect on what goes on at school. So with that, this is the LDC, it's the Land Development Code. And when you apply for a conditional use permit, which is what this is, At 2.8.1, the application process, section B of this particular page, this is page 30 in a 167-page document. It says, on receipt of an application for conditional use, the administrator shall forward copies of the application to accompanying information to affected public or governmental agencies and the Planning Commission. Planning Commission shall request and consider reports from such public or governmental agencies before determination. To me, that says you guys should. This is a document that we retained through FOIA. You guys are all familiar with FOIA. This was not included in any information. We obtained this through our first tranche of documents. And so it's an email from a local resident, and it says, I'm emailing to voice my concerns over the proposed firearms range location at 6780 Golden Belt Road in Odessa, Missouri. I have a background in law enforcement, retired manager KCPD, and specifically contributed to consultation in design and maintenance of firearm training facilities. It is my concern that the proposed location is too close, not only to public school, but also residential areas as well. I feel such a facility could disrupt class activities during school hours and also disturb local residents and voice responsibilities. That didn't see the light of day when it was gathered through FOIA.
So that email was sent to the city, is what you're saying, at one point or another?
It was sent to the county.
Oh, to the county.
So who was the recipient, you know?
Who was the recipient? I believe it was the county, but I don't, as far as a specific recipient,
Yeah.
I'd have to check into that and see. Yeah, so, guys got any questions or?
Tim, I have one.
Okay.
Are
I may
they,
not be able to answer it, but
are they using it now?
Huh?
Are they using it right now?
I can tell you that there has been shots heard. I can't specifically say. I know I've been told by my neighbors that no, we're not shooting guns. Now in the last 2 or 3 weeks, two weeks, it's crickets.
It's what?
Crickets. It's quiet.
Didn't say anything.
And then I have just a quick question on page 4,
Uh-huh.
when you were describing the 2 red squares, and
Yes.
you know, just to the north of that is Golden Belt Road. You said that they were, so on the pistol range, they're shooting north, and you're saying on the long gun range, they're shooting south?
I believe so, based on this.
Okay.
There is a 40-foot natural berm.
Mhm.
Yeah,
To the south,
to the south,
on the south edge of that red box,
which would
red
obviously make
rectangle.
a better situation for rifles.
Yeah.
Yeah. But without blowing that up, it's, I mean, really,
Yeah, I tried to blow it up on the computer, it was still a little bit
yeah.
blurry.
I guess the way I interpreted that was they were all shooting to the north. The long gun range was just shooting behind the shelter house, I guess. Does that make sense?
Oh, so like if
To
they're
the
shooting
south.
long gun, the pistol range is shut down essentially.
Yeah, that's the way I interpret. I don't know.
And that's a
what I'm
possibility.
saying.
I interpret it as 2 separate locations because in my mind, you could be using both firearms at the same time if you had multiple people.
Yeah, I just saw at the top of that red box says backstop and target placement, and so I just assumed that was where all the targets would be shooting in that direction. But
It is
I
kind
don't
of dangerous for us to assume,
yeah,
but yet
absolutely.
that's kind of what we've been left to do.
Uh,
Nobody has brought this information to any of us and set us down and explained it.
well, and like I said, I want to know what the side barrier is on that east side. Like, I don't understand.
So, Tim, detail if you would for me from this point, not what's already happened.
Mhm.
So where's it go, where's it at, and where's it go from this point forward?
So basically, May 23rd, there was a scheduled meeting for the commission. It went to that meeting, we didn't have enough commission people that showed for quorum, so they couldn't take a vote for approval or disapproval. So then it got rescheduled for June 20th. this is the first of a two-phase process. After this, they also need to go to the Board of Adjustments because they have to have an adjustment agreement because they're.
Is that in Lafayette County?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Based on what they're applying for, if you go to the BZA, then you're operating outside of the setbacks that were set. So then you're asking to operate closer to the setbacks or the property line. So that's the second phase of the process. So June 20 is this phase, and then BZA's next.
Can I ask when you and the surrounding property owners were notified?
We officially got this. I'm not sure, a couple weeks ago. Maybe 3,
So before the May 23rd meeting?
just barely.
Just
Yeah.
maybe a
I mean,
week or so?
we got registered letters in the mail
Oh,
that would have been at least 10 days ahead. And then from that point, we started making phone calls.
I understand.
We had heard whispers of it before that, but I think there was an original meeting set for the 16th of May. That got postponed, and we got a letter that said it's postponed until the 23rd. So I think I signed for my registered letter on the 10th or 12th, maybe 15th. I signed for my original letter on the 15th, when the meeting was on the 16th. So I think it was dated at the post office maybe 5/4. So at that point, we kind of gathered, tried to obtain the information and tried to understand and learn what was going on. Hopefully that answered your question.
Yes.
Has the county responded to any of your concerns or anything?
I think I think they will in the meeting. Once we got the information, we had a lot of work to do locally, and we've done all that on the ground. I'm sure you guys know this has really never been on Facebook, and we made an attempt for it not to be on Facebook. We wanted, if someone was signing a petition, we wanted someone to have a conversation with them and understand the substance,
Just like it
not
is.
just
Yeah.
blast statements all over social
Right.
media. It was important that they understood. That's why we took the time to get the document to them.
Does anybody else have any questions for Tim at this point? Tim, I really appreciate you coming in.
Thank you for your time.
There is definitely some concerns that we ought to, as a group, sit down and talk about, so thank you.
I appreciate your time.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Okay. At this point, next up is our superintendent's report.
Yeah, I've got just a little update on summer school. We started June 1st. We've got about 257 elementary kids, 82 at the middle school, and 214 at the high school. Of the 214, 111 are taking virtual classes. Elementary classes will conclude on the 29th, middle school on the 14th, and the in-seat high school classes will conclude on the 29th as well. We do virtual summer school for high school both in June and July.
Okay, any questions? Okay, thank you. Next up in discussion items is our construction update. Pat, come on down.
Good evening. I'd like to start with a schedule of what's coming up over the next month. It's kind of hard to see. Do you have this in your packet, Janice?
Yeah, I think so.
I'll kind of walk you through it. So here's June 13th, that's today. This is all the interior schools So they're kind of on the same pace right now. They're framing out with metal studs. I know you all walked through the school, so you probably saw that. Spaces are taking shape. In conjunction with that, they're putting in electrical and plumbing while the walls are open. In-ground plumbing for any fixtures that need to be put in. Like just down the hallway, they had to run a plumbing line across the hall. That's in and filled in. And then so that'll take place through this week into next week. Starting later this week through the next couple weeks is going to be installing door frames inside those metal framed walls. And anywhere there's a block wall that we put an opening, there's a little more work that goes into that to detail those out and put the frames in. So that's going to happen over the next couple weeks. And once all the framing is done and the door frames are in, they're going to start drywall, mudding, and taping. It'll be next week through the next 3 weeks, so about through the end of the month. And then we'll start painting right at the end, so that's July 7th. So really, the spaces will really come to life in the next month. That's at all the high school, the middle school, and the elementary. And then on the site work, we've seen a lot of dirt moving at the middle school. They're working on grading and preparing the subgrade at the middle school right now. Adding storm lines. So that work will go through at least the next couple weeks, and then once the ground is ready, they can pour the curbs and sidewalks that go there, and then that'll accumulate towards the end of July with the final asphalt and striping for the middle school. The high school, it's going to start in 1, 2, 3 weeks from now. So they'll get done with the middle school, and then they'll move the crew over here and start at the high school. And it'll be demo, and then asphalt and curbs and sidewalks, and about through the end of July at the high school with the site work. So, any questions on that and schedule?
Has there been any setbacks? Has the contractor position has not been back any at all yet?
There hasn't been any setbacks, no. I know you all walked through the sites, but I wanted to share a few pictures from each of the projects. This is the high school, the framing of the new administration, the offices, the corridor. This is a transactional window on the back side of the office, and then the new vestibule they're preparing to put in. The outside windows and framing is one of the last pieces that's going to go in, so that'll be a little bit before that gets in there. And then at the middle school, this is the new office. This is where the reception desk will be. There's Kendra's office right there, and then the rest of the spaces. And then if you were the receptionist looking this way, this is the door that you enter into the office off the vestibule. This is a window to allow visibility for anybody entering those spaces. This is the commons. They have all the BCT flooring taken up, and they're working on the ceilings and then putting down the new flooring in that area. And this is just as soon as you walk into the school. This is a conference room here, and there's a door out of frame that you exit out of the office. It's just right over here. And then at McQuarrie, okay, and then this is the brick at the middle school. But they're moving really fast on the brick. They started, this is the southeast corner. They already have all the brick up here. If you walk over by it, they're just moving this way. It's really going pretty smoothly on that. So all the red brick on the east and the north will be replaced, and then this is mostly tan brick that's going to go right back up the entry. And then in McQuarrie, they're working on framing out a few of those spaces. Not as much work here, but there's the reception area and a new opening cut into the block wall for that security vestibule. And then I think the last pictures is just the next slide is just a few pictures of the site work at the middle school. And all of these pictures are available on your Odessa School District website for anyone to view at any time. Any questions on
As far as like schedule, everybody's on schedule so far, we're looking pretty good for
We are
August.
looking good. Lastly, the roofing project here, last time I was here, I talked about a final punch list that has occurred this Thursday. Trimco, who warranties his roof, is gonna come out and just make sure everything is picked up from that final punch, and that'll be it on that project.
When they start painting, do they do any, I don't know if we'll have people in the buildings when they start painting, working, or do they deal with air handling and adjustments with that?
Yes, I'd have to look into that for you, in terms of, kind of shutting off the system so it didn't get elsewhere.
Yeah.
I can research that and get back to you on that.
So they do like a movie USD or whatever it's called.
I'll get back to you on that, Carl. Good question.
It's looking good.
Yeah.
I think so.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
Next, we have the 2023-24 staff back-to-school schedule.
Yeah, the schedule is included in your packet for your review. New staff will start back on August 10th and 11th, with returning staff coming in on the 14th. Again, this year, we're gonna host the Building Bulldog Conference like we did last year on one of our days. Will consist of several sessions for staff to pick from in the morning, and then that afternoon, based on feedback we heard from staff last year, one of their concerns was they didn't have time to follow up from what they learned in the morning. So actually, that afternoon is a time for them to follow up with presenters or groups that sat in on sessions together or work in their classrooms. So we built that time in for them to get out of it what they want to get. So that'll be in the afternoon on that same day. And then school starts August 23rd. So Pat left before he could hear that. I told him we gotta be done on the 1st.
Any questions for John on the back-to-school schedule? Okay, next we have the 2023-24 Special Olympic activities. Favorite.
Thanks for having me. So in your packet, you should see a tentative schedule of what we're planning for next year. Thank you for all of your support so far this year and new things that we wanted to add. We're hoping to continue at that pace next year and are already planning some fundraising opportunities that will involve both adults, sponsors, coaches, and students as well. So then they're involved in helping create these beautiful opportunities, not only for them, but their friends in other districts. We're really starting to partner with them and do more things. So you'll see we have esports the fall and spring season. Then we'll roll into our annual unified track meet that we host here at Odessa. Whenever we host that for 8-year-olds through high school students, other districts come and participate. It's a really fun event. But then we also host a young athletes program as well that day. So if you're here on campus, you'll see everyone participating at the track, and then also we host one at McQuarrie Elementary for the younger kids who aren't old enough to truly participate in Special Olympics. Then we're going to add bowling, hopefully this fall, so that will start around November. And then in December, as you know, we hosted Job Olympics this spring at Berry Acres. So they are partnering with us to offer the first prom for Special Olympics students and their friends. Whenever we look at spring prom, one of our students this year said, "I'm worried if I ask someone, they'll say no." So offering this unified opportunity for them, I think will be really magical for our students. We're also going to invite local school districts that we see at all of these other sporting events as well. So then they can be like, "Oh, I remember you from the track meet," or "I remember you from Job Olympics," and really try and form that connection for them so they have friends that are like them and they can understand each other and the struggles that they face. Another thing that we would like to add eventually, you will see we added basketball this year. We're going to participate in more events, and we hope to eventually host our own 3-on-3 tournament. We've had some staff turnover rolling into next year, and so really juggling what is that going to look like as far as coaching responsibilities. So that's our goal, hopefully, for next year. And then again, we'll roll into the Job Olympics in April.
And then one thing not listed on here is our in-person esports match. We had a wonderful time at that April 21st this past year, and we hosted Wellington Napoleon here in this room, and they played Mario Kart together, and it was a lot of fun. Parents came, administrators came, and it was great for them to see what unified sports looks like, and we were able to dream a little bit more. So next year we hope to invite other districts as well. Something new that we added this year was our end-of-year banquet. So we wanted to recognize our students, both unified partners and athletes, the same way they would be recognized if they were in a JV or varsity sport. So any student who attended 3 events or more as a unified partner or as an athlete was invited to the banquet, and they could achieve a bronze, silver, or gold level award. Gold would be 5 or more activities, silver is 4 events, and then bronze is 3 events. So we look forward to doing that again next year. This year we had an ice cream social. It was a lot of fun. So thank you guys for your support. Anyone have any questions?
I was just really impressed to see all of the activities for the students. The district's really lucky to have you.
Thank you. That means a lot. They're a lot of fun. If you ever have free time, come out.
So the Warrensburg Unified Bowling, is that us joining Warrensburg?
Yes.
Okay.
So Warrensburg is planning to, like we host track, they're planning to host bowling there for the first time next year. They have the lanes at UCM. And so partnering with them would allow our students to be able to go there. Another thing that we're really going to work on next year is giving our students opportunities to practice. So during Bulldog Block, we'll have athletes that are part of our JV and varsity basketball team come and practice with our unified athletes. For basketball, for track, we can do the same thing. And then for bowling, since it will be unified, the unified partner and also the athlete can practice bowling together. So inside, we may order some of those like fake bowling setups where they can practice that and work on skills. And then also look at a field trip to an actual bowling alley where they can practice before game day. So.
And to become a unified partner, do they apply for that, or is that something of students, or can you only help with basketball if you play basketball?
So a lot of our unified partners actually are part of student council. So we have a unified student council, and then we also have a unified club here at the high school. So the unified club, they actually plan events together during the school day. So it might be themed around a holiday or something special. So around Thanksgiving, they have like a little Thanksgiving family for the unified club. And so anyone who wanted to be involved in that could be involved as a unified partner. But I would say most of our students are probably from student council here at the high school. Another thing that we're working on doing next year is looking at, for example, at upper elementary, 5th grade, how can we help raise those 5th grade students up as leaders and help them become future unified partners. Same with 8th grade. So 8th grade students right now, they help out at our young athletes events. And so 5th grade, how could they help out with our young athletes events or become unified partners in the making whenever they go to high school? So then it's really, truly inclusive, not just here at the high school, but in all of our buildings. Thank you guys.
Yeah,
Thank you. Okay, next we have the student, state, and national competition expenses.
Yeah, we are proposing the board consider to cover costs for students and advisors for activities that students are qualifying and competing. We cover most of the district expenses now, but at district, state, and national competitions, the proposal would cover the following: the student organization registration fees, lodging for the duration of the competition, transportation and travel to and from, and then a meal at the district per diem rate of $51 per day per person. Any activities outside of the competition would be the responsibility of the organization on the trip. This is presented right now for discussion. Will be brought back in July for board approval.
So that per diem, that's per diem, that's handed out to them, or it's on allowance?
That's the maximum amount.
That's the maximum it would be. We'll work through, we kind of worked through that this year. We'll continue to do that to make sure that it's accounted for with the district.
If I would word it as allowance.
It's still a reimbursement.
Yeah.
there's no handing of.
Cause it's district funds, so we would hand it to them.
But the leaders that take these kids on these
They
events,
would be-
they're aware of what the per diem is and
Yeah,
they
they
just have
would
to.
be.
One thing I'm curious about is the lodging. Have you considered setting per diem based on location for the lodging?
No, because a lot of the events we're talking about are constricted to specific places. For example, I know when DECA goes to their national competition, they have to stay at the hotel that's been designated for the competition. So to put that restriction on there could cause an out-of-pocket expense if that place exceeded what that per diem was.
Is that something that could be brought to the board if it's outside of the lodging per diem for approval?
Could be, yeah.
I just like having the cap in there personally, and then if we have to go outside of it, then we can get approval for it. I don't know what you guys think, but I always had to follow lodging per diem when I traveled, so.
Right. We could do that, I would just wanna know what you would want to set that cap at.
There's rates based on location. So we could just say, follow the per diem set at the national level for your location, Fort Lauderdale or whatever
Okay.
it is,
There's some sort of pricing data out there on the website or.
like based
that
on city
establishes
within the
rates.
state.
Would that, surely these hotels don't, because of this activity, raise their prices.
A lot of times it comes with better reviews.
It's, it is.
Yeah, it's a group rate, I mean,
And they can
like
agreements.
National DECA, they're getting 1,200 rooms.
Right.
So if the typical is, $379 a night, we're gonna pay $249. Because they're booking.
They're guaranteeing 1,200.
Yeah.
I'll do some research on the per diem rates for lodging.
Aside from the cost, I'm glad that we're getting this document and able to do that for now.
Agreed. I hate for somebody to miss out.
Yeah, my only question was the per diem. I didn't want our kids going hungry and making $200.
That's what I was, per diem to me is, here's what you get.
Bring some
How's the rest?
we're coming over here to you.
The crazy thing is, you give them $100 per diem, they're still gonna get chicken strips.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Okay, I'll do a little more research and bring that back.
Next up, discussion items, we have the Lafayette County proposed gun range.
So I've included that information in your packet for you guys to review and discuss.
Was this, so let me straight, was this packet provided to us by? the city
By a
of County
patron?
Or?
By patron.
I guess that's, my concern is with all the safety improvements we're doing, taking a lot of steps forward, I mean, take these steps back with regards to safety. Part of safety is the perception of safety, and there's ever an instance where we haven't done a good job communicating when something's occurring. That instance is immediately going to bring that perception of safety to students in the community that we're serving. So that communication, that's where I get back to, where did it come to us? Where's the communication? And what I've seen in the packet so far with the application, the permit application, it's very minimal. So I would hope that we just need to be, there's a lot of room for improvement, discussion on that. I want to make communication is gonna take
I would,
place.
I would add to that, the concept of a permit is you're requesting permission to build. And it appears that this is substantially built. So I worry about communication from other organizations.
I'm curious about this SPZ. I don't have any experience with any of this, so that is somewhat troublesome that he says that, you know, this is pretty much always done, like in these instances. Maybe it hasn't been, but maybe it's just a situation where it has been, and maybe that just wasn't included too, you know, who knows?
The district property, do you have any expansion plans that you know of?
I'm not aware of anything that's been discussed, but, you know, we do have nearly 80 acres, I think it's 76 acres out there. Part of that does sit to the west of the existing drive that goes around Upper right now. You can pretty much see where the land is cleared. There's a couple tree banks in there, but where the land is cleared all the way back to the south where that tree row sits, that's all district, plus the crop fields going straight back from those same areas, going straight back to Double O, is all district property.
Like we've talked about before, it's not even just the location of our schools where the buildings are, it's the activities that can take place, the track, the buses driving across all of those different things that I think are super important to know or to be made aware that that is going to also be, that is part of who we are. Not just our location.
You know, it ultimately, some of this comes down to, we're supposed to have a really good working relationship with the city, which on one hand, I thought we did. I don't know how this gets to where it's at without them coming to and sitting down with us and at least getting us on board with this. Or trying to. With communication and, you know, at least sitting down with John and telling us, hey, this is coming down to, you know, and you know, even if they would say, you know, this is going to be safe or whatever, it almost seems like they tried to come in from behind us here. The best way to say it.
I would think on the permit, when I'm looking at the permit, that's in there. They've done the communication.
Well, I just, John, to just, not so much from you had a conversation with Chief Brown. Did you initiate that or did he?
I had reached out to him after I had received the report.
Okay.
And actually, I think it was after the first county meeting. I remember the date, 23rd maybe, was I believe the first county meeting.
I do think it's worrisome that we didn't hear about it until after the public hearing and vote.
I had heard about it, it had been brought to me beforehand, but that was for the
But
picture.
you're meeting with Josh.
Yeah, the meeting,
Okay.
yes, I apologize, I didn't make that clear, the meeting with him was after that.
Nobody, has anybody from the city reached out to you and had discussion on their own about this?
Well, I had reached out to the police chief.
Well, I know you did,
Yeah.
but
I know,
guess what
other
I'm
than
saying-
that conversation,
No
it's
one
not a
else took the
conversation.
no one else took the initiative
That's
to,
the only conversation I've had. Mhm.
Yeah, my whole thing, communication is key. Be open, transparent, communicate, you know, we all work together for, you know, the better of the community.
Cole hit it just right, Adam, and you know, whether we can work through this or not, and as individuals of this community agree or not agree, but either way, I mean, one of our biggest jobs at this school is safety of our kids. And I don't understand why, I mean, they should have been in there in John's office explaining to him how they're gonna keep the kids safe. We're gonna do this, but here's how we're gonna do it. There's nothing's been done. I mean, we're asking questions and that's it.
And realistically, the decision could have already been made, like you said,
That's what I was
and we,
thinking,
Yeah.
we still have all these questions we didn't,
Yeah.
I'd like to say, I mean, no matter what happens, the improvements that are being made on the buildings are definitely a deterrent for any possible situation I think that would have to arise. And I'm glad that the community passed that bond regardless, because no matter what, these are improvements that will ultimately help the district out despite what happens, so.
Is there any other discussion right now on the gun range at this point?
As far as we know, there's another meeting.
20th, next Tuesday.
23rd, I think is what.
20.
Or the 20th, I'm sorry, June 20th, I was looking.
Yeah, we will, you're going, I may try to go with you if I can, I don't know what's going on that time. Okay. Anything else at this point? Okay. Next up is the Raptor Emergency Management System.
Dr. Fagan and Logan are gonna, we had talked about this a few months ago, but just wanted to bring it back up.
I can start. Roger and I had a kickoff call a couple weeks ago with Raptor. We're working to implement a few different modules with them, but specifically the one here about the emergency management system. We're kind of in the beginning stages of getting that going so that our users, when they start the school year, will easily be able to log in and be identified who they are and what building they're in, because that plays a big role in how we set up the program. So we'll have multiple ways that people can utilize this system, so they can have an app on their cell phone, shortcut on their their workstation in their room, a shortcut on their Chromebook. So they're going to have 3 or 4 different ways that they can get to this app in about 5 seconds, and hopefully it's used a lot in regards to the basic functionality of it. I mean, it can be used for, minimal triage needed somewhere, maybe a little fight somewhere, or there's a health condition or something. We're going to have customized buttons available to everyone that do different things. So depending on who pushes it and where will alert certain people, maybe the principal or maybe the nurse or maybe both. And so this could be a nice one-stop shop for, a lot of daily stuff, but then obviously if something bigger were to happen, they say in about less than 5 seconds they should be able to initiate some sort of an emergency alert from any of those devices, which will, again, alert anyone internally as needed, but then we can also start piecing in dispatch and local PD to, be on the same system to receive the alerts too. So, I think it's going to be a really slick program. Hopefully it should be pretty easy to use and getting it implemented this summer, and they'll start training just as soon as they get back to school. I'll be sending them information on how to get the app and pushing out the shortcuts to all their computers and trying to make it as easy as possible for them to use.
So is this just teachers and teachers and students?
It'll just teachers and staff, yeah, that would have access to it.
Is this the same thing? We talked about a kiosk being in the breezeways as, the entrance points. Is this the same?
Same parent company, yeah. So there's 3 modules that we got through Raptor: the emergency management, visitor management, And then another piece that came with it was drill management, which will help with fire and tornado drills and scheduling and the organizing of that data. So yeah, we're working with Raptor on all three of those pieces.
The kiosk you're referencing would be the visitor management piece. So when they come in, you put in there's a scanner for their driver's license, so it scans their driver's license, runs a quick background check, checks against sexual list, and before they're permitted into the building. So yeah, it's all tied together.
Is the expectation that teachers would have it on their personal phones, the apps?
I mean,
It's an option.
Yeah.
It'll be on their desktop as well, as buttons, but if they want the app, certainly, couldn't require it, but
It looks like it's
encourage
just a
it to.
sign in. So they create an account and then they can sign in, looks like through any device that I would guess, the way it looks like on there. On the
it'll be
site.
tied to our Google infrastructure, so it should just be a pretty quick click for them to authenticate themselves. Like I said, a lot of it works off of proximity and where they're at to determine who gets alerted. So
Is the training in that, for that part of our contract, or are you doing the training?
yeah, I mean, and they may kind of do a little bit of train the trainer type deal, but yeah,
We're responsible for.
we're paying full blown implementation. Then we'll have a group of people that get trained, and then we would be able to push that out.
Okay, any other questions for Logan? Okay, thank you. Okay, next up is our action items. First, we have Ed Council, Guide Services, or policies.
Yeah, these, I've included these for a second reading. They were presented last month for a first reading. They will become effective July 1st and replace the existing misdemeanor policy.
I know we had some questions that we've asked John to go through. Does anybody else have any that we need to talk about any of these policies? Any questions at this point? Any of the new policies or existing policies from Ed Council?
Were you getting the handbooks as well?
Yeah, and hopefully we'll get those probably next month. If not, it'll be in August, but yes.
So will we have our second reading?
This is the second reading. Last month was the first reading.
Okay, so this is for you to approve?
No, just
This
this two.
is it.
So if we were to make a change, we could make that.
We still might change it.
Yes, you can always amend policy, but it would go through as is right now. If we decided to amend it, we would then use it.
Probably wouldn't want to amend it in the middle of the school year, but if school hasn't started, I think
That's right.
that would be an okay situation.
Depends on what it is.
Yeah.
And sometimes they get amended by law,
Yeah.
which might not happen until things happen in August.
Gotcha. Any other questions? If not, I need a motion to accept the new policies from Ed Council, Guide Services, please. All in favor? Thank you. Next up, we have the high school kitchen walk-in cooler freezer.
So in your packet was information, we solicited bids for a new walk-in cooler freezer combination here at the high school for aging and failing equipment. So we received 3 bids. The recommendation would be to hire Behrman Heating and Cooling to replace that. Price of $7,320. That's for a new cooler and equipment, and then a new freezer box. We would reuse the existing equipment on that because it was replaced within the last few years. So it's still good to use on a new box on the cooler. And the other one is about 20 years old. Is why I replaced it for that. So and it still uses the old freon to get rid of that. So,
What was the other two? About 10 grand more.
one of them, well, part of it was demo, so there's like some concrete curbing in there that it sits on. That one Spearman was able to utilize a size box that worked with what was there. One of the others wasn't aware of that curving, but the one in, I don't remember which of the two, but that was a price with us demoing all of that stuff prior to it showing up to do it.
They were still 10,000 more.
Yeah. Which, at the time, only I know what to do. I can run a sledgehammer, but not in the time they need me to. And then, of course, and then part of it was too their willingness to use the existing equipment on cooler instead of buying new.
Okay.
Since it was so new, that was a large portion of it.
There was the funding for this.
It's already built into the budget.
The schedule on that for Roger, did they?
Mike has worked with them on that, and they're aware of when summer school ends and when regular school starts, and don't feel like that's an issue. So.
Any other questions?
I'm assuming they have plans in place to take care of any food that
We do, yeah, Mike's worked, with the ladies in Oakland, where to move food, how to help them. And that's the other piece of the puzzle, because high school's the biggest freezers, that's usually where everything gets stored from all the other ones.
Yeah.
So, it'll just be a shuffle, you know, yeah. But they've got the space for it.
Anybody else have any other questions? At this point, if not, I need a motion for approval of the purchase. All in favor? Thank you. Okay, next we have construction project special inspection and testing.
So included in the packet was a proposal from Kruger Technologies Incorporated. This is a group that does special testing on construction sites, whether it be the strength of the concrete, the mixture of the concrete, asphalt, testing the soils that we've discussed in middle school. So this proposal, it's all unit prices are all given, so we would recommend to proceed with KTI for the special testing.
I'll say this is independent testing and make sure we're getting a quality product.
Any other discussion? Not, I need a motion.
So, I'll second.
All in favor? Okay, next up we have our change orders with Excel contractors.
I will go through these just briefly. All the information is included in the packet, but I'll just kind of provide a brief description for you. Change order 3 was removal of the asbestos tile here at the high school, $10,145. Change order 4 was to move a door over in the nurse and counseling area at the middle school. That was no cost to the district. Change order 5 were some plumbing changes at the middle school to move, having to connect to a line that was further than what our plans showed. That was an additional $2,981. Change order 6 was some sizing of ductwork and removal of ductwork that had inline heaters here at the high school. That would be an additional $1,984 cost. Change order 7 was to resize a water line at the middle school and to run that water line further because of the types of toilets that we're using now as opposed to what was there before. That's an additional $5,434. Change order 8 was to relocate a water line on our property behind the child care center due to the grading for the new bus loop. That water line will no longer be deep enough like it was before to move that, as well as phone lines, some other utilities over in that same area that need to be lowered because of the new drive. So that's an additional $19,544. Change order 9 was removal of the asbestos in the closet at the Quarry, $660 ad. And change order 10 was the removal of a mural at the middle school. It was a vinyl mural on one of the walls in the entry, and we're going to make that a solid paint wall instead of the mural. And that is a savings of $2,100 to the district. Recommend it.
Anybody have any questions for Roger on the change orders?
Number 8, with the utilities, they're relocating, is there any period of time will be without telephone or anything like that? Any been dates?
They've worked
Got
with
enough
it.
there to be able to bounce my stuff.
Any other questions for Roger at this point? If not, I need a motion to approve change orders 3 through 10.
So moved.
All in favor? Okay, next up is our year 23 budget revision.
Included in your board packet is a detailed breakdown of the FY23 revised budgets. This detail includes all new revisions as well as previously approved revisions. The requested budget revisions reflect an increase in revenues that match year-to-date expenditures or revenues, which is an increase of $1,332,122. This brings our FY23 revenue budget to $26,812,605.81. Of this, the operating revenue is $23,476,766.64. We are also revising expenditures in the amount of $327,799. This revision brings the FY23 expenditures to $31,603,34.33 for all funds. The district operating expenditure budget is then $21,869,182. We ask the board approve the budget revisions for FY23 as presented.
Does anybody have any questions for on this revision? If not, I need a motion to approve the budget revision, please.
Move to approve the budget revisions as presented.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. Next up is our fiscal year 23 Fund 4 transfer.
At the end of each fiscal year, school districts have the option to transfer either $162,326 or up to the 7% formula. This formula is 7% times the state adequacy target times the district's weighted average daily attendance. The district has a choice to choose either amount or an amount less than the top amount allowed. As we close out the fiscal year, we wanted to present a request for a fund transfer for the full amount of $841,005. This transfer would be used for capital fund purchases and improvements.
Do you have any questions for Ken on this transfer? If not, I need a motion for the Fund 4 transfer, please.
I'll make a motion. Second.
All in favor? Thank you. Okay, one more time. We have our fiscal year 24 budget.
Yes, the FY24 budget is included in your board packet for review. This includes the budget letter, estimated revenues and expenditures, revenue expenditure trends, a detailed breakdown of the current debt service payments, and a historical picture of the last 10 years of the district's assessed valuation tax levy rate history. We ask that the board approve the FY24 budget as presented.
Does anybody have any questions on next year's budget?
Thank you. To start, I would like to give a little bit of history about early childhood special education, just so you have a glimpse into what ECSE looks like every single day. So early childhood special education is a program built to serve our students ages 3 through 5 with what are called developmental delays. They help them become more kindergarten ready. The students who qualify for ECSE can show delays in the areas of cognition, communication, motor delays, adaptive behavior delays, so caring for themselves, or social emotional development. While in this program, students receive services that will help them become more independent, navigate the classroom and hallways safely, develop language skills to enhance their communication abilities, and receive direct services in areas of weakness. Some things that we've been able to work on this year are helping our students navigate stairs safely, being able to access the playground the same as their same age peers safely. And with the services and expansion that we've already experienced, we've been able to service more students. The need is still there for us to continue serving and finding more students. We ended this school year at a higher rate of students receiving services than I've been able to see in our historical data. So we ended the year at 57 students receiving services and are projecting starting this fall, taking out the students that promote to kindergarten with over 43 students at the beginning of the year. So to put that in perspective, last school year, we ended with 20 students receiving ECSE services. So we have seen exponential growth in that department. Our program has grown from 1 teacher last year to 3 classrooms this year that are eligible for full reimbursement from the state of Missouri. We expanded to 2 teachers this past fall and then continued growing and needing more people to provide services. So then we added the 3rd teacher this January, and that classroom is considered full and fully reimbursable as well, including the teacher and the para for all of those classrooms that we have. In addition to our number growth, we have seen the needs of our ECSE students increase as well. So some of them need more support than students that we have seen previously. We have a larger number of students who need help supporting their communication abilities and are struggling to form verbal pronunciation of words and just communication in general. And then we have some other situations that require more support as well. Looking toward next year, we knew that we wanted to expand both teacher and support staff for our ECSE students because, as we all know, early intervention is best. We want to get that intervention as soon as possible. That starts with parents as teachers, goes into ECSE to get them as kindergarten ready as possible. So then we are helping close that gap as early as we can. Our ECSE numbers, like I said, have grown so much from 20 in May of 22 last year to almost 60 at the end of this year. We will also start the year with more students, and that is before first steps or parents as teacher referrals and screenings. We had looked at other potential rental spaces earlier this year, but none of those options included the space that we needed without immediate construction needs or remodeling costs, or they were just not ADA accessible. So planning for students who may require a wheelchair, I want to make sure that we have that already in place. We continued our search. We found a space that will house at least 4 early childhood special education classrooms, a receptionist or nurse aide, an on-site administrator, 2 speech language pathologists, which is what we currently have on staff for next year, an occupational therapist, and a physical therapist as well. In addition to that, this space would have an outdoor space for recess and breaks and an open area where kids can run and play. There is also, hopefully, space for us to find future grant funding and work on an ECSE specific playground that will work on things that our students truly need as they go to K-12 schooling, and also an outdoor classroom space. We will also have our own gym, which could be utilized for group gross motor activities, reflex integration, in collaboration with our new partnership with Grow Pediatrics. So what research has shown is that through COVID, whether students recognize it or not, even up to high school students, even up to us, COVID has been seen as trauma in the body, so to speak. So in younger students and children, what we're seeing is a delay in their reflexes. So with our new partnership with Grow Pediatrics, we will be able to utilize that within the ECSE program, again, starting with early intervention and then working up as well. We have also partnered with ARIS. A collaboration with them will provide curriculum resources and professional development for working with our students with the most intense nonverbal abilities. We have secured a partnership with Project Access to assist in providing support, on-site coaching, modeling, and mentoring to all our program teachers throughout the 23-24 school year. Project Access specializes in supporting students with behavior delays, sensory needs, and also supporting students with autism. With our increased SLP staff, thank you for approving that, at the ECSE, we will also be able to provide push-in services, which is where those SLPs can go into the classroom and work with the students together. They can team teach, they can co-teach within those program classes, and also enhance our itinerant services for students who attend pre-K at other locations. That's something that is close to my heart, and hopefully we can continue to expand upon in the future. When students are attending other daycare or pre-K facilities in our area, I want us to be able to say, we can come to you and provide services. We can come and provide speech or communication services. We can meet you where you are. So then maybe the parent is reserved about transportation or whatever that is. I want to conquer that barrier and still provide intervention for our kids. In addition to all these incredible benefits to opening a new center this August, this would also allow more space for our kindergarten classrooms. The district has added due to increased kindergarten enrollment numbers for the 23-24 school year. So moving us to a separate space where we have room to grow also provides room to grow for our district, because the 3 classrooms that we are currently housed in at Macquarie would be able to be utilized, for other classrooms as needed, which I know is very important. Through the work we've put in this year in regards to funding and structure of our program, we would be able to claim reimbursement for a majority of the cost to expand our ECSE program to our new Odessa R-VII Early Childhood Development Center. Please see the spreadsheet contained in your packet. According to our projections, all classrooms would be considered fully funded, which would reimburse both a teacher and a para. What you'll see also is a reimbursable one-on-one para. You will see plans for grant funding and other options to help with upgrades that we're also planning on. Both SLPs would be considered fully funded and reimbursed as well. Rent, utilities, cost of printing, and internet would also be fully reimbursed. Can you help me? So as you look at the spreadsheet, you'll see a breakdown on the left column of all of the different things that 1, we know of, or 2, we are projecting we could incur as we make this transition to the new center. In addition to that, you'll see whether we are planning for it to come from federal, state, local funds, potential grant funding, or other places. Anything to add? Did I miss anything? No. Okay. You'll see some pictures here of just the general space. So here is the open gym space that we would have full access to during the day. This is a picture of a couple of our classrooms. This one has a bathroom attached here. So right in this area, we can block this off with a temporary barrier and then put our changing stations in here as well. There's an exit here that goes right out to where the playground and then a big open area is. So we're already planning parachute activities and different things that the kids can do together in that wide open space. Through here, there are stairs that go to the upstairs area, which could be utilized for team meetings and professional development. It's kind of a nice, open, relaxed space where they can do that as well. Do you have a picture of the front? So our entrance will actually be separate from the current entrance that is utilized. So in the entrance space, there's a place for us to put a temporary sign there as well. So then parents or visitors will be able to differentiate this space and know this is the Odessa Early Childhood Development Center entrance. There's space, like we talked about, for the receptionist, copier, printer as well. Bathroom spaces, everything that we can think of.
What will you have to do on July 1st with your contract?
Well, I have no idea. It's okay. Continue what I'm doing now.
Do anybody have any questions?
I'm assuming the district has procedures in place as far as security, these facilities.
Well, and part of the expense that's included in there,
Okay.
and actually that's some of the grant funding, to be able to put a lot of the same features in this facility that we have in every other facility.
So So with this facility, whenever you go in our entrance, we're gonna work on having like a scan system, so you can scan your badge and come in, or the receptionist will be able to buzz someone in. We'll have access to all of the same emergency things if there was an emergency to notify people on campus here, or the police department or whoever we needed to. And then whenever you walk into the opening where the receptionist will be, all of these doors are closed. So even though it's not secure entrance like what we have here, we can make it a secure entrance, so they enter and then have to be let into where the students would be, whether that would be the gym or the classroom areas.
Do we know how close this facility is to the?
I've not measured it.
Oh, okay. How close it is to the proposed gun range?
Not as close as the school.
Oh, it's not.
The direction is
Is an issue.
an issue. The only thing I would suggest is sit down with Chief Thompson and Carrick. Have an understanding about response. They need to be able to leave the city limits because Carrick's deputies could be 15 minutes away.
This is awesome though. You did a good job.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is really good. This is good stuff.
Thanks.
The lease calls for $1 million of liability insurance. Is that covered under a policy that we already have, or? Okay.
If there were any additional costs due to adding the insurance due to this facility, that is something that we could also have reimbursed.
The opportunities that you're providing to families and just the awareness of all of it is something that I've hoped for this district for a really long time. So it's very cool to sit here and see it to come to fruition, so thank you.
You're kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There's been prayers that we
Thank you.
At this point, I think we need a motion for the expansion of the early childhood special education.
I'll make a motion to expand early childhood special education program.
second.
All in favor? Thank you.
Yeah, great job.
Thank you.
Ms. Federic, on my part, you've got you one heck of a brush fire going, keep it going.
Thanks. We'll try.
Oh, well, you're doing good.
That extra month.
You're getting to them kids. You're getting to them kids that we need to get to. So, thank you.
Thanks for your support.
Yeah. Yeah, could you please pay the light bill? Next up, we have an out-of-state student travel request.
This is included in your packets for FFA officer retreat in Nashville this year. This will move around each year, but that's for the end of July for the officer team in Nashville.
Okay. Any discussion? If not, could I have a motion to accept the out-of-state trip request, please?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. Do we have a written executive session? At this point, I need a motion to conduct a closed executive session, including any record of vote at the next scheduled meeting pursuant to statutes contained in chapter 16.021. Let's have a motion. Do I have a motion, please? Roll call.
Aye.
Aye.
And aye. And I need a motion to adjourn. Now a second.
Second.
All in favor?